Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It's Saturday. You got 2 days till Christmas. Got a coffee. Thought today we'd talk about ways to change and adapt because that's what you have to do in any kind of business if you want to stay, relevant and stay current. Is the willingness to change and see trends, see things that are kind of wavering on the way out, and having the ability to see the change out far enough so that you can take advantage of it versus having it take advantage of you, right? And what am I talking about? All right, so what I can talk about, when it comes to business is, of course, small engine repair, selling parts online, selling retail, is that when I first started this business, one of the things that I was trying to do was to try to find something that nobody else was trying and be the front of the pack. You always say the first where the most is. Well, a lot of that's true. Johnny come late doesn't apply because if you're just trying to get online now and sell on eBay, Amazon, Walmart, Sears, the kind of competition that's there now wasn't there when we did very well. All right. But if you can adapt and figure out a way to sell something that they aren't selling, there's still potential there, right? But when I first started, I was fresh out of college. I went back later in my years. And one of the things we were working on was, server administration, web development, designing websites, designing programs that were e-commerce friendly. And you started to see like the emergence of PayPal in the early days. Uh, but one of the things that I when we first started out of our meager, beginnings out of a heifer barn doing small engine repair was trying to get parts and get parts, as quickly as possible. And then not be paying like this crazy number for shipping if it was for just one part. Because a lot of mechanics and shops, aren't going out and buying a lot of one-offs, to have in stock. If they see something on a regular basis, of course they're going to stock it. But for the most part, if they tried to stock everything for every machine, you'd have to be a retail business, right? Because you can't. I mean, you have the OEMs and you have the aftermarkets. But early on, that was my biggest dilemma, was I had set up first with, getting my sales tax number, which I already had, but I had to get it in the name of the business. I had to, you know, it was already an incorporated business, so all I needed to do was, find a name for the new business and run it under the incorporation, and voila, right? A little harder than that, but you get my drift. Most of you guys out there that have started a business, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that is, you need your business name, you need sales tax number, and a physical location, you know. And a lot of these distributors for small engine repair parts and stuff, won't deal with you unless you are actually repairing vehicles. And they won't warranty the parts unless your mechanics are putting those parts on those machines, right? Like Stens early on was very clear that, if you were a retail setting and you didn't do any repairs, they weren't interested in selling to you because they have a 1 year warranty on their parts. At least they did. And the only way they would honor that 1 year warranty is if you or your mechanics physically put that on the unit correctly. Because even then you had a lot of homeowners that were trying to do stuff themselves. And then you had a lot of fly-by-nights that I call that pose as sponge repair guys, but they aren't. And then you have the up-and-coming ones that are doing it on the side, weekends and nights and stuff. And that's where a lot of people start, is the guys that are doing weekends and nights and then gradually work it into a full-time business. That's what's kept our business alive, in this category. So the big thing is trying to get parts as quickly as possible and to avoid paying this crazy shipping charge. Because every one of them had like a certain, shipping charge was like $12 for the least. And depending on weight, it went up, right? And at that time, nobody had, if you bought so much in parts, you got free shipping. It was what it was. And if you needed a carburetor kit for a chainsaw that you were working on and you didn't have it in stock, if you went to the distributor, you paid for the carburetor kit, right? But if that's all you needed, it was going to cost you an additional $11-12 in postage to get it to you. And we ran into that with a distributor that was within 60 miles away. I'm like, put it USPS in an envelope, send it. Got a cost of a stamp. But a lot of these places had contracts with like UPS or FedEx or, what have you. And they were getting a bulk discount rated, okay? And if they were charging you $12 to ship that carburetor kit, in actuality, they were probably getting charged $6. So they were making $5 to $6 on the shipping, plus making the money on the carburetor kit. And I thought that was asinine. Why should we have to pay more for shipping than we do for the actual part? Especially when there's other shipping options available out there. But the distributors weren't there to help the repair shops. Distributors were there to make money, right? So that was my brainchild when I first started out. I was doing e-commerce websites for some of the bigger companies that were just trying to get online at that time because there weren't that many online yet. Most of them were still doing mail order catalogs and, where you call or send a check. And so I was sitting there on a weekend, I can remember having a beer, and I was thinking, there's got to be a better way. Cheap. So I was already using the venues as far as eBay and Amazon, and I understood how it worked. And I saw the potential in those two. And in the beginning, it was just eBay, okay? But Amazon soon to follow when they started seeing a cash cow that they need to get involved with. But I saw something out in the future that was going to become every day. People are going to be using these parts every day. And if I can facilitate them getting the parts faster, and if all they need is one carburetor kit, and I can ship it for under $1 to them, I added the buck into the cost of the kit. Like if somebody needed a carburetor kit that was $5-6, I would add on what I felt was the shipping, and then I would put the carburetor kit, what it lists, what it fits, on and on, with free shipping. And I knew that free shipping would be what would get most people's attention. It's because they figured it into how much they could into the parts. And it's easier to figure in when you're a repair shop on a $5 carburetor kit. It's easier to make money knowing that it's $6 out the door than $17, $18 if they go through a distributor with their shipping. And, like I said, you could take and buy a couple carburetor kits at the same time to try to pass it on over volume. But what I saw most of the repair shops doing was they would make a list at the beginning of the week, and they would try to get enough parts that they needed from that one distributor to reach a certain amount or a certain number so they could spread that shipping over all of it, right? But with them, that meant that to try to get something in and out wasn't that easy because you were waiting for the week to try to get enough parts on order to place the order. So your customer now is waiting a week or two just because you're trying to get enough parts on that list to cover the shipping, basically. Because you don't want to tell the customer, well, I can get it for you for mark up the carburetor kit to $7, but I got to charge you an additional $12 to get it here. They're just going to look at you and walk out, right? And I know a lot of companies that even to this day are doing that. They're saying, we don't have it in stock, but if you want it, here's the cost, and then you also will be expected to cover the shipping. And, I'm like, what? Why should I cover the shipping? So you have to know that something could work, okay? And that was my business model at that point. Was I was gearing towards repair shops that were tired of waiting the whole week and having a backlog and this and that. So, as I've said in prior videos, I already had the IT side of it down. I didn't need to hire somebody. If I had to hire somebody to do what I was doing, I knew at that time it was around $100 to $140 an hour to have somebody like me come in and build a database, build a upload program, build an app, and most businesses, the smaller ones, your mom and pops and all them, could not afford me. And to be honest with you, we couldn't afford me if we had to pay. So I had something to offer the business as well. I had my skill set that I could add to the actual business itself, on top of just being a business leader, a businessman. So that's how we became a pal. We started off with one, catalog, let's say Briggs, and had Briggs up. And over the course of the next 6 months, and I was spending hours upon hours of writing programs, uploading. And at the time, I hired 4 people that were overseas to help me with the catalog listings, updates, and there was just, 2 other employees that were local. And so the bulk of the online side of stuff was me and the 4 overseas employees. The bulk of the shop work was the mechanic and our receptionist, per se. That she did a lot more than receptionist, but that's what I'll name her, is the customer service department. Because she was great on the phone. That's a must if you're going to do business. You need somebody that gets along with everybody and loves to chat and visit, but also knows time is business, time is money, so you short and sweet. So we had the leg up on most people. Jack's small engine was the only one that I know of that was thinking the same thing, except for he didn't go the way I did, okay? He was leaning more towards his own website and building it that way than doing any of the venues. And he was smart. I remember when he was working at Avis, there was an outbuilding and took it to the point of where he was bought out. I don't think he has anything to do with it now. I think it's corporate owned, but he was the only one out there that was thinking the same thing. All right. So we started with the OEMs and building, and figuring out what it would cost to ship from our location. And then the real big stuff, what it would cost to drop ship. And we figured it into our price. And most of our listings had free shipping, because I wanted our customers that were buying from us to see what the actual number they were going to get charged. This is it. It's not this plus I'm not sure what shipping is, and then you click on it, all of a sudden it's like $25 shipping. I wanted it so people could see this is the actual price I'm paying. Can I make money on it and have it in a couple of days from Eric? Or do I order from the distributor? I might get it a few bucks cheaper, but the shipping is going to be crazy. And most of them opted to come to me. And it didn't take long for the brands to figure out what I was doing. And a lot of them encouraged it. They helped out a lot. And so eBay was our start. And I also had created our own e-commerce website. Jack wasn't the only one. We were doing the same thing. But I quickly learned that the better money was doing it through someone else's venue than it was our own, because they were spending big money advertising, come to us because we can supply anything you want, right? And we did that, and then Amazon approached us. We had already started getting pretty good size. And I don't mean pretty good size for a business sense. I mean volume-wise. We had added the third employee local to help out with shipping. So we had 2 people doing shipping, 1 doing, repair work, mechanic. And then we ended up with 3 doing shipping and 1 doing mechanical work. And then we were doing the one with the mechanical work, and during the summer months we pay some high school students to help out in the shop to learn the trade. But we kept growing and growing. And probably in our second year, we started seeing a few copycats that were trying to do the same thing. We had people copying our listings word for word, using our friggin' pictures that we had for our parts, But Amazon, they were always looking at eBay, the other venue, as competition. And Amazon was mainly, they had gone from a bookstore to they were buying and reselling under the Amazon brand, and, they couldn't carry everything. And they were looking at eBay, and eBay, they didn't sell anything. They were not competition. They charged you a percentage of your sales, but they did not compete against you, okay? Amazon, we dealt with them we were struggling with them because we would take all of our time with overseas employees to build a program to upload to Amazon and start doing well on Amazon, and then Amazon would look, and if they saw something that was getting good results, a lot of sales, they would start trying to find the vendor that we were using. And it wasn't too hard to figure it out. If it had Stens on the packaging, it was Stens. And I can remember that when they went to Stens told them no in the beginning. But up in Stens, somebody said, well, why not? We'll make money with them selling parts, right? So they ended up, Amazon, last I knew, and this was years and years ago, they had 7 different locations that they were signed up with Stens. And then 7 locations were their warehousing of where they would ship from. Okay? So they would start competing directly against us. And they would start trying to be lower than us on everything. And I made a simple complaint to them, and they said, well, you can leave. Yeah. So we showed them how, and, why not? A lot of the OEMs said no. A lot of the OEMs were reluctant when they found out what I was doing, and because they felt like I was selling in other dealers' networks, with people buying online. But the thing is most of the people that I was dealing with were repair shops. It wasn't, the customer. It was a repair shop trying to get work done for a customer. And I was streamlining that process so that it wasn't costing them so much for a carburetor kit, right? So the next one that approached us was Sears. Sears said, look, we would love to have you on our venue. And they weren't. We were one of the first. They didn't have anybody that had their own e-commerce platform. And they tried to be a little bit like eBay, But they were more like Amazon because they also were a selling venue, for Sears and the Sears parts. But they covered the whole spectrum of Sears instead of just finding parts, They were selling product lines. They weren't selling parts to fit this and that. And there was only certain brands that we could upload within their system that they recognized, like Briggs and Kohler, and they weren't too keen on the aftermarkets. They wanted to see the OEM brands represented there. So, you do what they ask. And then Walmart approached us, and we did the same thing with Walmart. Except for Walmart didn't have any restrictions other than you damn well better ship under a certain time limit or, you're in trouble, basically. So we treaded lightly with Walmart when we first started going and finally had a catalog up there, too. But I saw the writing on the wall about the 7th, 8th year that there were so many copycats. There were so many people now coming on board trying to do the same thing. We had people coming on board that didn't understand that when you were selling on eBay, you had, 10 to 14% of your sales went to eBay. And then if you wanted a store, is what they call it, you had to pay a yearly store fee or a monthly store fee. So you had to pay a percentage plus, more. And these guys weren't figuring it in, so they were coming in below me. And they didn't last long. I knew they weren't going to last long, But what I did see was the way the venues were changing. They were like, we'll accept anybody, versus very strict in the beginning, And with the e-packet, that was the demise of a lot of guys that were trying to sell online. Because now you had China shipping it from China through the e-packet system. It's a postage. If it was under, I think it's 15 ounces or something like that, then it could go e-packet, and it was a fraction of the cost. And that was set up to ship from country to country, right? And China took advantage of it, and I'm like, why not? If it's there and you can take advantage of it, why not? Well, they did. But the problem that I saw was, how do I compete with a country? I can compete with one seller, but now this country is bringing in thousands of sellers. They're trying to undersell everybody on these venues. And it first started with eBay. eBay opened the floodgate. Amazon was next. Because Amazon, like, if we don't get on this, then our sales are plummeting. We need to have these sellers on our venue. So they allowed it. On and on. You can sit there and whine over spilt milk, or you can, you know what? We had a good run. We need to stop here and go a different direction. And that's what we did, You have to be able to look out and see the potential, but then you also have to, when you're riding that wave, know when to get off before it gets to be a tsunami, right? And buries you in the process. So just keep that in mind, when you're trying to build a business and stuff like that, that you want to look out and see, what is it that nobody else is doing that I could possibly do, Like a niche. Find your niche. Find your passion. Because you're going to spend a lot of time at it. So you need to like it. I'm telling you right now. But I'm going to leave that for right there for now for a Saturday, and maybe finish that off on another video. But thanks so much, guys, for watching, and I'll catch you on the next video. Have a great weekend. Stay out of trouble. And have a Merry Christmas if I don't see you before then. All right.